Where should I put this?
Put it down. Did you start that one?
You guys want to? Okay, I just want to play. You can hear from my presentation, right? No one has to be very.
Yes, I do.
You do. Okay.
Now let's check to see if test.
So how did you get involved?
And there's some stuff over there.
Quick question for you guys. Is there any team that is missing a team member who's supposed to be present? You guys are all good? You are not good?
Oh, we gotta go.
Okay, but you're not expecting him to be a part of this?
No.
Okay, so everyone is good then? Okay, so we'll be starting in 10 minutes. You can pray.
He wasn't here on Friday, so Friday they had a kind of and that time we're not going to see it. One lady's there.
No, there's anything you need. Like,
What if she would have?
That's actually that's the problem. It's like the first two days that works with the ones that works with like the ones where like that the those that are really good applications for them. Yeah, which is like yeah, so like for each practice, problems are like it's a different idea. So that
Hello, everyone. Yeah. Welcome. Yes, this is it. So you guys have worked really hard the whole weekend, and now you're here, and we're super excited to see what you guys are presenting. Before I get to the rules of the finale, I would ask the judges to introduce themselves so you guys know who the judges are for today. We'll start with Neil.
Hello, my name is Neil McDevitt, and I'm the Executive Director for the Dream Communication Center. Running the truckers today, weekend, and part of for the last hackathon actually too. So really excited. I'm happy to be here.
Hello, my name is Catherine Mustafa. I'm the co-leader of evoHaX and also the founder and CEO of a fashionable wearable technology company and we remain safely present. It's called More for Good. Leslie Birch. I am a baker and a blogger for Adafruit, so I like to wearable tech. I'm happy to do other hardware tech on projects. Just glad to be here. I'm very excited to see projects today. I'm hoping for prototypes. My name is Austin Seraphin. I've been blind since birth. I've been programming since I was 7. I'm leading to accessibility and computer programming and helping the disabled. So I'm super happy to be here. I was here at the last evoHaX as well for the background and things. It's great to be here. It's some good stuff.
Great, so now you guys know all the judges that we have. Also, just want to mention, if you guys are sending out tweets or Instagram pictures or whatever social media, please do hashtag evoHaX so we can know how much you guys like this event. Yeah. So the rules, very simple. It's a hard 15-minute presentation. When you're 2 minutes away, we'll give you 2 taps on yeah, there you go. And when you're 1 minute away, we'll give you 3 taps. Yeah, thank you. And once you reach the 15 minutes deadline, we will have to ask you to stop. So let's not do that. Let's stay within the 15 minutes time period. We will have 5 minutes for question and answer sessions. That's when you guys can ask your questions. We'll also open up for question and answer sessions from the other teams, the participants, and all the volumes that we have today. And that's it. Good luck. That's not it. All right. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. So Sarah says, as soon as the presentation is over, any board hardware, please return it back to Sarah. That's Sarah. Okay. Sorry for messing that. All right. So without further ado, we will invite our first team, which is the red team.
Hey, cool. Okay. So we are the red team, and these guys are going to tell you in a couple minutes about an amazing device that they came up with over the past couple days, and we're going to talk about the inspiration for the device. And on behalf of one of the so-called experts, I just want to say thank you to all you hackers for letting us watch what you do. It's really inspiring.
So I'm the subject matter expert for this team. Against my better judgment, you may remember me saying this because I'm supposed to be the old guy, which is true. Thinking about what I could say that might inspire this amazing team, and I have to say it is amazing. I've enjoyed it so much. I thought about things that other old folks suffer from, and then I realized that I suffer from it too. And what it is one of the things that I think I'm a subject matter expert about is fly fishing. And if you've ever tried to tie a fly onto a line from a fishing rod, you know it's difficult. But most of you haven't done it. But have you ever tried to thread a needle? That's something we've all tried, even if it isn't we don't do it very often. If you've got a little bit of depth perception problem, which I do, several other people do, it's really hard. And then we realized that, in fact, what I was thinking about was really a specific example of a very general class of problems. Really needing to have better visual acuity when you're working on very fine, detailed things. And so that's what this team took on, the challenge to think about something that would help.
So Howard just basically described the depth perception problem that he felt like he had as he aged, and particularly how it separated him from doing his love hobby, fly fishing. And one of the things he talked about is that he would have a magnifying glass in the woods that he would use, but it never helped with the depth perception problem. It made things bigger, but it didn't give him information about that. And this being in the middle of the woods problem made him think like wearables are potential here because they can go with you to this kind of environment. So to get at this problem, we wanted to use the depth information that you get from a leap motion. So I don't know if you're familiar with the leap motion device, but it's a box that is about 2 to 3 inches long and 1 inch wide. And it's meant to track 3D information, particularly your hands. And so we wanted to hack into that sensor to try to get some of the depth information to help with this problem. The other issue is how do we then give that depth information to our user? And so we want to look at Google Glass because this is a wearable device that he could take with him, and it would give him the visual information in the context that he needed. And so with that description of the sensors and how we wanted to combat this problem, I'm going to turn it over to Rand for more specifics.
Okay. So firstly, you just have to use those 2 devices because it was input and output. And first, you need to do a hacking the leap motion device because it's giving you information about based on the IR information, infrared. But we have to convert that for usable information about how close those 2 fingers are, not relative to the camera, but relative to you. So users like Howard can know which fingers are closer and how close those 2 fingers are. So we can skip like the first thing we try is we got the grid scale view, but so the things that are closer to the camera is brighter, the further away is black. So we decided to give more information about where the fingers are. So this is what we try with the markers on each of the fingers. You can skip the next one. But it still doesn't give enough information about how close things are, besides the color, the brightness. So we decided to add the color map, so the closer one will have different colors, and further away you get red. So we tried 3 different methods, and we thought that this would be the best way of approaching tackling the problem. So right now we are giving the visual output, but we are thinking that it could be used. We could try an haptic or audio feedback for people who are not really used to the visual output.
So with that, we're just going to show you a demo because we could talk through the problems, but we want you to see how the system works together.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to hold this laptop, please. Right now we're connected via USB, but in the future, the wireless.
So what this is showing is this is basically streaming what Cole is looking at through the Google Glasses device. So he has a small display up the right of his eye, and
Okay, so 1 second. If I do OK Glass, red view. And so this is going to load what you're seeing on the screen here. And if you can't see the screen, what's going on is it's a blue background, and then if I put my hands in view of the leap motion, which I currently have strapped to my head as a Velcro strap, the hands that you'll see that they get brighter and they're warmer colors like reds and yellows if they're closer. And so that's kind of the depth information there based on the infrared light you're seeing. And then if they're farther away, looks like that. Then if I get the leap to track the fingers, if it sees 2 index fingers and I pull them away, it changes the background to influence to tell me that they're not close to each other. So it's including both the absolute distance from me to the camera, which gives me a sense of depth, and also the relative distance of my two fingers. So if I'm trying to bring my two hands together to complete some task like screwing in a screw or threading a needle or tying a fly, then I also know how far away they are and how close I need to get them in order to complete whatever task that is.
So the idea here, and what we envision in the future, is you could take these sensors from Leap Motion and you could integrate them into a wearable device like Google Glass. And the idea of it being a head-borne display is that you can track what a person cares about based off where it is in their head. And then they're using their fingers to point to what's of interest. And then what the output is telling this person is where, how far away their fingers are. So you would, so part of what Howard talked about is he can see his fingers, but he doesn't quite have a sense of how far away or how near they are to each other. And that's the information that's being provided by the color. It goes red the more accurate or the closer that Howard is in getting his two fingers together. So if he's trying to thread a needle, then it's going to become redder the closer he gets to that goal.
Right, red far away.
Oh, sorry. But so here we're tracking relative information between the two fingers so that the color signals you've reached your goal.
And so the idea is that next year the things, augmented reality glasses like the Microsoft HoloLens are coming out. And so while right now we're kind of envisioning you would use this as two views. You have your normal vision to work on something, and you can also glance up and get your depth information. The HoloLens would allow us to overlay the depth information as one single view. And whether or not that's better or not, we'll have to see next year. But.
So now we just want to open up if you have any questions for us.
Okay, question.
It's often, so something that I worry about when it gets quiet is, does the idea make sense? Okay.
It makes a lot of sense, and I see too when you're using two separate, systems instead of using your computer right now. And how realistic is it to, combine those two systems in the future so that it's easier to use? Like, when you're going fishing, you can move it with you and have to work with that. So yeah.
Yeah, and
is that something possible? Like, is it doable to make it more portable or actually?
So right now, what we've sort of hacked the system a little bit in order to offload some of the computation to the computer, because right now Google Glass overheats if you have that computation being done on the device. And we didn't set up like a tremendous system. So right now everything is tethered to the laptop in order to link all of the pieces of the system together. But this could easily be streamlined with more time and more thought.
And people who are developing augmented reality glasses are going to be adding cameras soon. So that will happen.
It'll be all wireless, portable, so you can wear anywhere.
Great.
Yes?
Did your subject matter expert test it and already on?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, I tested it. I thought it was amazing. It probably isn't quite in the place where I could use it with thread and needle as well as I like. On the other hand, I'm not sure that you realize how much work these kids, these guys, have done. I mean, it was really quite impressive.
So to speak to the thread and needle example, we would need to get a higher resolution camera to see the thread, basically. So what we'd have to do is experiment with other camera models, and I think it's doable. But this one just doesn't have the resolution.
I mean, some of the challenge that you're getting is we wanted to be able to directly pick out whatever point in the field of view that we wanted, but that information is actually not exposed through the API of the Leap Motion. So what we're doing is we're tracking the two tips of the fingers to triangulate on the region of interest, which is between the two fingers. And that's how we're coloring everything out from there. I think in our ideal case, when we create a product, we would have information to, we would have access to all of that sensor information, so we wouldn't be dependent on the API being exposed to us at the level that we want.
Would this have different color settings possible? Could you also implement different color settings for those people with different kinds of color blindness that couldn't see certain depth colors of the sign?
You can easily tune the colors however you like.
We experimented with like 2 or 3 color maps. Like what you saw on the slide was actually red background, and then we ended up inverting it because it made more sense. But yeah, so you could choose different color maps.
To be accessible to anyone. Yeah.
Well, and also, sorry, you talk about the case of being colorblind, and one of the things that as we discussed this issue early on in the process is we realized that different color schemes mean different things to different people based off their prior experience. We think that this current implementation is a little bit more intuitive because people are used to their cameras, like they've seen those images either in the news or various media distributions. But you can imagine that certain colors actually make more sense based off the person's own needs. Like maybe their goal is actually to have their fingers farther apart, and they don't, and just red isn't as intuitive for them as saying they've met their goal. Or,
I would add on to that. At the beginning, I mentioned that we chose the output to be visual. We want this to. We can also provide haptic audio. We haven't built that, but we want this to be accessible to any disabilities, visual experience. So this is one type of demo that we approach that to this video.
Sorry, did you have a question?
Yeah, I guess I have 2 questions. One is, first of all, this is really, really cool. I've heard of the Leap device, but I've never used it. Was it the color commandments mostly that you worked on over the weekend to work on that depth perception? And number 2 is what's next? What are you going to be working on?
So the leap generally is meant to be tracking the skeletal components of the hands. So what we did is we ended up taking the raw image, color mapping that, assuming that the brightness is somewhat correlated with the depth level. And then we also went ahead and added the finger tracking, which is what lets us do the relative color mapping. So we would like a better sensor to do a better job, but it would have to be a little bit more advanced and more expensive than the Leap. This one's only $50, but we could possibly do that.
well, I want to add on a couple of things. I would say, so part of your question is like, did we spend most of the time on the color mapping? And I would say no, actually spent a huge amount of time on just trying to get the raw information we wanted. What is the lowest level of the lead sensor that we could get to? And how could we then infer larger things about the context about that? So that was part of, we had to fall back on tracking fingers because that's what was available to us, even though we started out thinking that we could get just each pixel or each part of the image, or just getting raw depth information, and we actually put that information API. So a lot of what we did is troubleshoot our expectations about the sensor. The second thing is in future iterations, one of the limitations of our current setup is that first off, Google Glass has a display just above the field of view. So the way you look, like your retina looks straight on, and then you have to actually look up and off to the side to get to Google Glass. The problem with that is when you're trying to focus on an object right in front of you, is you're then having to switch your attention off the target and back onto the target. And then and sort of balance how the display is giving you guidance information with the actual target. And so lining those two things up is actually incredibly challenging as far as adjusting your attention. And it was really cool to hear to talk about his experience as a surgeon. It took him an incredible amount of time to learn how to manipulate his hands versus looking at a display elsewhere. And we would envision a future setup being able to align those two images much better so that there wasn't such a learning curve. Further, the depth of information is coming from above the eye line. So you're actually not getting the information that that the person is seeing. We would like to see that like drop down much closer to the field of view so that it's much more aligned with the person's visual attention.
Can I add something to that? I think even in this little discussion, you come to understand just how deeply they thought about all of this. And I don't know about the amount of time that they spent on various pieces, but something that I was so impressed with was the teamwork in the engineering. So there were 5 people working on 5 different sets of things, getting the things together after they agreed on what needed to be done. It was no mean feat. I mean, it was a serious teamwork and engineering. I was just blown away by how they worked together.
Did we answer your question?
Yes, yeah, I think it's very cool email.
5 more minutes for questions. 3 more minutes for questions.
So the problem with the having an augmented system, it can be solved with the augmented reality. So what you see is really all the displays on the screen that you see.
You have a question?
I guess kind of a comment, I think you kind of covered my thoughts. I was thinking about an audio interface to help people with noise and vision. You haven't done that yet, but I guess if you envisioned it a little, if you thought about it. But
We thought about using haptic band initially, where like kind of you would use the sensation of how intense the vibrations were to sense like how close you were to the target.
And also the direction.
And the direction. So we haven't done that, but
yeah, so possible.
we actually have a haptic band, but we didn't use it.
Cool. And I know from some projects, I guess we're kind of speaking necessarily about needing a more advanced control of the lead motion sometimes feel a little, you need to sometimes make really grand gestures and things, but has it helped you find using it for this finer resolution stuff?
You want to talk about that?
So it's fast at tracking fingertips and all the pointy long objects, we call it tool. But I have to admit that it's better with the hand motion gestures, but not the drag or the needle at this point.
It's too low resolution of the cameras in Leap and making a depth map using computer vision, but it doesn't have enough information. Low resolution.
I would add to that too. So we initially were programming this in Java, and there was a class in the API to get tool information. But in order for us to get the implementation on Google Class, we had to switch to Python, and that class, the tool class was broken in their Python implementation. So that's why we had not anticipated having to make this compromise of switching to fingers, and we did that halfway through when we switched to Python. So that's another issue that we envision being taken care of.
Yeah.
We'll follow that. We'll fix it.
We'll work around.
Okay, that's actually it for questions. That's all we have time for.
Great presentation. Next up, we have Team Haptic High Five. That would be, you guys are welcome to set up your stuff, and we'll give judges 2-3 minutes to prepare when you guys come here.
Judges, just let us know when you're ready. All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mike Kerner.
My name's Robert.
Really?
And we are Team Haptic High Five.
I'm a professional mentor here.
So we've had the pleasure of working with our subject matter expert, Patrick. Patrick is deaf, so he has no ability to hear whatsoever. Initially talking with Patrick, we had lots of really great ideas for tackling all the barriers there are between communication from people that can hear and can talk easily and people who can't. Unfortunately, because of the time constraints of the hackathon, and we only really had one day to do it, and the skill set of our team, we had to start narrowing the scope of the problem. So while talking to Patrick, we came across some very interesting instances. Patrick told us a story about how he was walking one day and there was a dog behind him. He couldn't hear that the dog was behind him. It was growling, snarling, and barking. And he ended up getting bit by the dog. This landed him in the hospital. He had to get tested for rabies and all that. And it actually really shook his confidence in walking alone without being able to know what's happening behind him.
There are many other instances of this too. I say he's driving his car, and on a bright sunny day, an ambulance is behind him. He can't see this red and blue flashing lights, and without any ability to hear that behind him, he's unable to get out of the way fast enough in his car. But might be walking down a city street, the car could be coming too fast and blaring their horn saying, "Watch out, gotta get out of the way." Unable to hear or see what's behind him, no ability to get out of the way.
So we really liked this idea, this problem. It was a small enough scope that we could create something that we really think would help Patrick and anyone else who was hearing impaired with these things and make it safer for them to walk throughout the city. So the idea behind our project was to make a wearable device that someone could have in their back pocket or sort of on their back. They can detect what sounds are happening around them, if there's a loud, sharp sound, or if someone is getting closer. Or something. Yeah, someone or something. Our original concept of it was something like this. It was something that was kind of phone-like that you could slip into your back pocket and would have some sensors going out behind you that could do some detection and then give feedback to the user by vibration, some technical feedback.
So the second body of our design was a money clip player. So you don't have that pocket. So now that you want to slip this device, you can simply put it on your back of your belt loop. It'll look behind you and alert you whenever something's close behind you. So this is all part of the human proprioceptive sense. I think you can explain a little better what that means.
So proprioception is essentially one's awareness in space. So the challenge becomes with our deaf community that you're so reliant on your hearing to kind of be aware of what's going on around you. With our deaf community, that's not possible. So they're relying on other input and other sensory inputs, where now we're trying to figure out other ways to get them to become more aware of what's around them. So they're more reliant on, sensations or vibrations. So that's kind of why we came up with this device.
Right. So ultimately, after 2 days of work, we have the embodiment of our prototype.
So our prototype was built using a mini Arduino along with an ultrasonic sensor to detect the depth and a microphone that we could use to sort of monitor the ambient noise level in the room and detect if there was a loud spike in the sound. So we did all of our prototyping on a breadboard, and we actually, if you can go to the next picture, ended up taping everything together just so that it would all hold in place. Because we didn't really have the time to go and solder it on a true prototyping board, but we still wanted it to be strong enough that we could give you a nice demo today.
Weren't sure if our 3D printer was going to work overnight, so we came in early this morning to find it actually printed and didn't fail for the first time in a while. So we did end up with a nice house device.
Very cool. So that's a picture of the final device. Now we'd like to show you a quick demo of the device. So, let's see, switch the device on. Currently doesn't look like it's doing anything. And for our non-hearing impaired community, you can actually hear the vibro-tactile motor going inside the device. You can see the point of the device right. Look how in close proximity. At 14 inches away, our threshold, it alerts you of danger. A dog, a car, an ambulance, anything behind you. Second part of it being sound spikes in the room. Instantaneously detects those loud spikes. You can be walking on a city street and takes the peak-to-peak ratio of the sounds. So the ambient noise won't trigger. We can all be talking loudly, but someone collapsing the edge of the room, there's a lightning strike outside, a car horn behind you, it'll alert you in that direction. And so now we'd like to invite Patrick to actually take this device and try it right in front of you guys and see if it works for him.
The proximity is going on a little bit right now. There we go. All right. So as I come up behind him, I'll do that. So they don't catch it in here when we climb or applaud. That's the device. So thank you guys. Are there any questions?
So what is 2 feet?
14 inches. It's kind of arbitrary, but if someone goes up behind you with 14 inches of space, it's kind of uncomfortable. So.
What's it using for the optical, for the detection of the object, say ultrasound?
Ultrasonic sensor. So it pings one side and listens on the other side.
It's a parallel sensor.
And so this isn't only a device for kind of hearing impaired. It can be expanded as a platform for those without appropriate proprioceptive perception. So say if you deaf in the car, the blind community, something in front of them or encroaching behind them. If you're sneaking up, you won't hear a robber very violently behind you.
Yeah, we're thinking about it with blind also, yeah.
Exactly. You
My question has to do with future plans or other plans, because I have 2 ideas, really quick ideas, but you shoot yours first.
So making the form factor of the device smaller and not as loud and annoying. But basically, as you saw our sketches before, the belt clip design is probably the most feasible. Say women for staging, very little pocket space, living at anywhere else on your outfit would be good. And also, actually, we work in the Yeshiva Seki Hot Tech Lab, which is a wearable device and textile manufacturing institute. So incorporating this into a garment itself, where you don't even have to worry about looking out your person, would really be the end goal of this device. Make it truly wearable.
So you do have two out of 3 of these already built into a cell phone. So I'd be already working on some program for a phone because it's already got a license, it's already got the, the haptic window. So,
Exactly.
So that would be already a good small device. People already. I like the belt clip idea or the little clip just because I'm sorry, if you're a male in Philly with your wallet in your back pocket, I'd be wanting that anyway.
Exactly.
Without having any issues. I'm just anybody should have them.
I just had a personal perspective, like the art. So if something is above or below, so with respect to like a dog, where it's going to be letting below the leg, is it able to detect? Is it like a art 14 feet all around, or is it just strictly
So unfortunately, due to the limitations of the sensor, it is just directional. Comes regular.
But we did have some hopes to expand upon it, so have more sensors at varying heights and angles. And then hopefully actually different types of feedbacks. You get one vibration pattern for your watch, one for a minute, one for just to give you more feedback.
Also, directionality would not be possible with just 2 microphones. Radio Shack doesn't have a microphone, so we can only do this project. By comparing the time it takes for the sound to get to one to the other microphone, you can then give a dual input state on both sides of the
I love the idea just because, because that person I know his experience is talking about. But I have 2 questions. And in the device, it doesn't tell you like how loud the sound is or what the sound is exactly, right? That's the question. So could it be set up later so it'll be able to detect like a fire alarm versus a car alarm or a siren sound, or applause? Totally different means, totally different means.
So there are many different ways we can do this. Google API will do voice detection. Right now, we only did one set, 3 buzzes per danger, because we have analog motor control, or digital motor control, so we're on or off. It would be very, very easy to incorporate a motor control that would scale to the loudness of the sound or the closeness of the proximity. So that's for the output. As for the input, it's very, very difficult to differentiate between 2 very specific sounds. We're just taking peaks right now. So a very loud car horn as opposed to a fire alarm It's very extremely difficult with that small amount of processing power to determine. If we use a cell phone, for example, it would be much easier for that very processing unit to determine those sounds we discern and then be able to alert at different levels. Like an actual emergency as opposed to just a raw sound.
I guess my second question would be, all the parts that are in that currently in there, is that something that would be, let's say, reasonably affordable for someone? You know, like most people will buy that finished product, or would it be more expensive?
So right now, we built this in a weekend, and cost of prototyping parts, I think about $20 a ticket, depending on the entire unit. So they say 7 times the cost of parts in this production would be an actual two-step process. So 7 times 20, that's just prototyping. You can get all those chips over in Asia and China, even with an industrial partner, saying producing that for less than $5 per part, 7 times that would be 35. So picture a device, $35, $40, maybe 50 if you want to look nice and finished with steel chrome. So they get fashionable. So extremely affordable and extremely inexpensive.
So the cost, right? So you saw there like a lot of false alarms happening, for example, when you're taking it out like your hand, or for example, these areas where you're sick. So what's your plan in the future to alleviate this?
So false alarms aren't actually false alarms. We had it programmed so that whenever the proximity sensor goes off, but when you're putting it in your pocket, the wrist is blocking that proximity sensor. This device was really meant for you walking around. So once you already have it installed, if you're walking around with it, you shouldn't have all of these triggers all the time. If someone gets too close to you, yes, that'll happen. Or if he's really loud sounds, things will happen. It'll cause a problem. As far as actually just putting it in, we switched up the prototype, so we figured, that's okay for now. But we could probably do something where there's a sustained blocking. It wouldn't vibrate.
For corporation, there's no longer a very simple chip set. Detect standard is sitting and turn on while you're sitting.
This might be right. Would your shirt be enough to set it off too? Like you were wearing a shirt like you are now, with that pocket, with that covering you set it off?
Yes. It would. Actually, just it would block those sonic sensors, so it may not even detect that distance, just absorb those sonic sound waves. So that's one other problem we're looking at. Basically incorporating into the garment like we were talking about before, instead of as an active foot-on place. Thank you guys. All right, if there's no other questions, then thank you very much. Thank you again, Patrick.
All right, good stuff, guys. Next up, we have the team Blue Steel. You guys can come up and set up your equipment.
Oh, it's like for your device. Is anybody else feeling over caffeinated and underrested? Yeah. What do you guys tell us? Okay.
I think we're all good.
You guys are all ready? Okay, cool. You guys all ready? All right, cool. So hi everyone. We are Team Watch Me Work.
No, we are Team Blue Steel.
Oh, that is true. We are Team Blue Steel, right? We gotta do like this around. Right? Our app that we've created is Watch Me Work, which is the wearable solution for your learning needs. My name is Jedi Weller, and I guess
I'm Patricia Scapelin.
Andrew Rose.
Nadia Russell. Liz Braff. Brittany Christian.
And Andrew and Patricia were our mentors, and the four of us, and Newton, who had to go back to DC for work, he drove all the way up here. We're the team that built the application. So I guess I will go into what our application is, Watch Me Work. So our biggest thing when we started the project was learning about the need, right? We came into evoHaX really not knowing what we were going to build. And then at like 12 o'clock yesterday, we got partnered with Patricia and Andrew, which is awesome because it gave us a lot of direction into what to build. So, basically Watch Me Work was based off the need of people with cognitive disabilities and learning disabilities. Patricia has a background in multiple sclerosis and speech therapy. Right? I don't know if you want to say
Different
something.
disorders and speech therapy, strokes, brain injury, concussion, different cognitive issues that people have acquired.
Yeah, and Andrew for dyslexia, right? And also filled us in on this, what's the other one?
Dysgraphia and dyscalculia, other learning disabilities, ADD and ADHD. So.
Yep. So, we learned about all of these, right? So, I'm not going to see that here. Oops, sorry. So what we basically learned was that a lot of people, right, on a day-to-day basis, right, if we're going to read a blog post or read a newspaper article or just write down a to-do list for our day, we know it's only going to take us a couple seconds, right, or a couple minutes, right? We can really gauge that really well. Well, people with learning disabilities can't gauge that as well, right? And if they can gauge it, they have difficulty figuring out how far ahead that gauge can go. So I may know, as a person with a learning disability, that one paragraph is going to take me about 5 minutes to read, right? But once I get to a whole book, right, or maybe just like a whole chapter of a book, it's hard for me to plan my day around that because I don't know how long it's going to take me. I really just have no idea. And the unfortunate part is that every person is different in general, right? But people with learning disabilities have very, very big variety of differences on how quick they write, on how quick they can do mathematics, on how quick they can read, right? And unfortunately, there's no medium.com for people with these disabilities, right? So there's no average that we can just get. So a lot of times they'll underestimate or overestimate their tasks. And they need a way to track their abilities, like their personal abilities, on their day-to-day routines, right? So how long does it take me to actually read this? How long does it take me to write this? So what we did was we said, all right, we're going to come up with a solution for that. First, we did some market research. We wanted to see, is there anything out there that could actually track how long it takes somebody to do something, right? And there's a couple different applications that do like daily planning, right? Which is literally just a daily planner. There's apps like Toggl and A-Tracker that will track like your tasks and whether or not you completed your tasks, or like the time it took on like a day-to-day basis to complete a task, but not like the hours that it takes for each task. So we said, well, actually, first we got a quote from Andrew. Would you like to read your quote?
Sure. Every brain is capable, some just need a little bit more time.
So you guys better remember this quote. He's going to sign autographs later. So that's when we came up with Watch Me Work. Watch Me Work to the rescue. So basically, Watch Me Work is a two-part application. It's a mobile application on your phone, right? We actually did build a mobile application that semi-works on your phone.
Get it on the emulator too.
Okay, on the emulator? And we'll go through it. And also it's a Pebble application, right? So for your Pebble watch. The whole purpose of it is you can go on, you can actually, you can define tasks that you want to do. So whether that task is reading, right? I want to read a novel, and I want to see how long it takes me, or writing, or you can define your own tasks, right? Maybe I have trouble putting on my shoes in the morning, right? And I want to know that it's not taking me longer to put on my shoes in the morning, right? That I can, make that 2-minute, deadline every single morning, right? This has a lot of, applications. It's not only for people who want to read and write, or who have like dyslexia, for instance, where it just takes a little bit longer than everyone else, but also people who have degrading medical issues, right? Like multiple sclerosis. Multiple sclerosis, as you guys know, it's every year you may get a little bit slower and slower on like your day-to-day tasks. With an app like Watch Me Work, you can actually track your progress, right? So you can send that to your medical provider, to your doctor, so they can actually see, hey, you're doing, it took you 5 minutes to do this last year, now it only takes you like 2 minutes to do it. Let me see, should we show the app maybe?
So we set it up with just a basic base where you can register as a user. Can you go ahead and sign in? Sorry, some of you can't see it.
And I'm gonna pull like a big screen too.
Once you sign in, it takes you to your profile where you can enter your date of birth, your gender, your disability, and also the ability to change your email, as that sometimes happens with us. From there, you can add your tasks. You can create new ones, add as many as you want, or you can select the current one that you're working on. And then it'll display your stats here.
So this is what we said, it's partially working on the mobile app. Yeah, really good question.
But if anybody wants to see it afterwards, we have it working on a couple of other computers.
Yeah, and a couple of phones also.
Yeah, so we can back around what we do, how it works. This is my phone, please go back.
And then on the watch itself,
Oh, yeah.
I think we have a couple of them. On the watch itself, what you do is you select whatever task you're working on. It tells you the average that it takes someone to complete that task. And then about every hour, you can, I guess, set different ones to say, hey, take a break, it's been an hour. Maybe if your task is gonna take you quite a few hours, it just checks in on you. And then after that, it records the time afterwards with the task that you selected, and then it sends that information to the database, which is also connected to the mobile app. And then that's where your stats come into play on the mobile app, where you can kind of see daily how much you do, or weekly, or within a certain area with geolocation also.
Yeah, we wanted to add in geolocation because one thing that we noticed that no other tracking app has is where were you located when you were studying or doing your work. So we wanted to be able to say in what locations, like if you're at the library, if you're at home, if you're in the classroom, where are you doing your best work at? How many hours are you spending to do work at the library? How many hours are you spending to do work at home? And you'll be able to track you'll be able to track words per minute, things like that, and it's pretty cool.
So I'm just gonna jump in here. So someone with dyslexia and that sort of thing, I have to go home, read a couple chapters, do some algebra, do some writing, whatever. I want to understand, how long these things are going to take. So with our app, you're able to, find the statistics and that sort of thing so that the app can get more familiar with you. So it knows that, the national average is X, but you're at Y. This is, it helps you to improve that with your time management, as well as, being it right there on your wrist. And if you're going to do an algebra project,
or an algebra sheet, and there's 27 questions on the algebra sheet, you know how many questions are on each one and can average it, and yeah, it's going to help you improve time management skills. You know, with learning disabilities, the executive functioning skills are really something that I don't strive with, and I have trouble with. So that was something that we put in here.
Yeah, you can actually. So what we envision is that you can set, kind of like a goal for your week. If you say, like, every week I want to spend X amount of time, like reading books or getting homework done, you'll be able to see how many hours you did spend logging stuff in. You'll also be able to see what time of day are you best at. Like, are you better in the morning? Are you better in the evening? Are you better in the afternoon? When do you read your best? When you write your best? Or do whatever. You can also see hours per day for any given weekday. And then we envision that you'll be able to also look into every specific task that you did on each individual day as well. And then average words per minute versus the national averages, which we know exist for different grade levels. So we're envisioning that you'll be able to track your words per minute versus everybody else in your age group and in your grade.
And the most important thing about this is that it's for you, right? So everyone is different, everyone is an individual, right? And this is so you can track your progress, right? Whether it's with an effort of staying, linear or minimizing the expectation of whatever your condition is. So it's really about you, and you get to see your averages over time. In terms of like the benefits of our app, right? It is progress tracking, like I said. The reason we utilize the Pebble as a wearable, in addition to the mobile app, is to eliminate distractions, right? We're on your phone, we're doing many different things, and if your whole purpose is to see how long it takes you to read or write something, you don't want to be playing with Facebook, at the same time you're doing it. So the Pebble allows you to actually, start recording, stop recording, and select the task, just select your watch, and that's it. Another thing is accessibility, right? So we have written down here, it's accessible for everyone almost, right? So on this particular version, it's text-based, right? And text and visual. But by utilizing the smartwatch and the phone, we can have everything be read out. For people who don't have visual stimuli, they can actually see this, or they can hear this. And then tracking the condition. In terms of where we can apply this to, obviously it has personal use, right? But it also has medical use because we can gather a bunch of data about this, and we can actually, highlight this with your medical provider, so your doctor can follow along with you if that's something you want to do. And it actually makes sense basically anywhere you want to go because it is time tracking on a personal level, so you get a rolling average of how long it takes you to do stuff. So it has corporate applications as well. Because when we were building this, we were like, oh my God, wait, we can use this in the office to figure out how long it takes us to do stuff, which is kind of cool. So we're going to keep building it no matter what. But yeah, so that is our application.
And you can see, like, we have some of the screenshots, because the Pebble is really small, and we only have it on one Pebble right now. But you guys can see, we have only 6 screens. We tried to make the user experience really, really minimal. Because like Jai said, we thought about things like if you're in the classroom, a lot of teachers won't let you have your phone. We want you to be able to use the app entirely just from your Pebble if you need to. And then when you're at home, we also want to put all of the same pieces inside of a phone if you don't have a Pebble.
So that's watching work.
Any questions?
So quick question. I love Toggle, but the problem that I always have when I use it is, in the beginning it's awesome and clicking everything off and seeing graphs and everything. And then I'll click something off and then I'll get a phone call and I'll go make a sandwich. And the next thing it was Tuesday, and I get the email from Toggle asking me if I'm still doing this activity 30 hours later.
Oh.
So, I'm curious, A, how you have thought about ways to sort of help train people's behavior to remember to keep using this, and B, how you would sort of market this to someone who's already using Toggle or something like Toggle for these needs.
I can answer A. So for A, we thought about that. We actually, first, we set a default alarm for every hour. So if you're, like, are you still there? And then also motivational messages, depending on how, like, you'd be able to set up like default times. If you want to stop yourself, take a break, like, it'll also send you messages saying, hey, do you need a break? Are you still working? So like this way you don't forget to stop your task. Because that was one thing that I mentioned. I was like, well, it's not asking you. You could just walk away, go to the bathroom, all kinds of stuff. It's as simple, like just like a stopwatch. You just hit the button, it pauses. So that it'll have like just pause, like start, pause, resume, and complete inside of that.
And then for the second part of that question, right, how do we get people from something like Oddle onto our app? Our app is really for people who are looking to monitor themselves and their progress on more like a personal and like medical level. So it's really like the use case that you're using it for. One of the things that we do offer is like the industry average for different types of conditions, right? So instead of just saying, hey, everyone can read this paragraph on average of 30 minutes, right? Well, that's not really true. How about everyone with dyslexia on this categorical scale can on average read at this minute, right? Everyone with multiple sclerosis on year 5 can read this on average of 10 minutes, right? So that way it's more fine-tuned to what your personal situation is.
Yeah, we want to use this to build our own database so that we have more of those answers.
Other questions? That's all lunch.
Awesome.
So yeah, a few thoughts. I don't think the tool is successful yet, but of course, if you're making it through iOS and Android and Apple Watch and stuff like that, that's totally cool, and it's all coming from the same data anyway. That's cool. And then I was also thinking about, you're talking about the medical uses, and thinking about uses in education also. Things like an IDP meeting that students have to have.
That's actually the example that I brought up in the beginning, because my nephew is going through that right now, and that was one of the first thoughts that we had. I said, my nephew has to be monitored in his classroom so that they can figure out, like if his disability is going to pull him out of the classroom or not. And what that requires is like 10 days of monitoring. And if the school doesn't really have the resources to do that, they'll kind of just skip things. But we were talking about building like a back-end database or a back-end dashboard for teachers to also communicate with students or with parents. Like there's so many different things that we could add in to watch their progress.
We even talked about a heart monitor to see if a child's about to get nervous if the teacher asks a question. The teacher would know and see, oh, hey, their heart rate's going up. Maybe I shouldn't ask them that question at that point, which would be kind of cool, especially for people with anxiety. People aren't even self-prone stuff.
Or children that have strokes and they're a little bit slower at answering questions and things like that, to be able to see if they were uncomfortable. We could also track data like that in here.
Any other questions?
Mine was specific to, it was you that said you have this letter?
Yeah, I just.
Yeah, like I believe my husband does too, so I'm really curious how you see this really helping you. Like I've heard like having more routine could help, or like I don't know, I think that's like a really tricky one. And I could see maybe location even helping, but how do you think it would specifically help you?
So the most important thing for me is, for me, I'm fortunate that I am able to have the education that I do have. I was taken out of public school to be put into class sizes of 8, and I'm now at a school that helped me for that. But I think that, I was, how I pitched it to them was that, you read like Medium and those types of things, and it's like, oh, this article only takes 3 minutes to read. Well, it won't take me 3 minutes to read. So it's like, that sort of thing is, I wanted to create technology that was able to get like familiar as well as like understand like, how long it's going to take me to do. So if after using this technology for, let's just say a month, and I wrote three 5-page essays in that, read, 16 times the same amount, and like all that, I can understand, and then even potentially, I know this is like extreme, say, okay, these are how many assignments I have tonight. It will already program in there how long on average it takes me between all the other assignments I have. So I think that, what it really is going to help you with is time management. And like the issue for me now is that being that I've had this education for so long and like it's really helped me, it's not going to help improve my grades, no. But what it will help me do is complete all the tasks and not underestimate or overestimate.
That's all the time we have for questions, actually. We need to move on. Okay. No? Okay.
I have one more question. There's a lot of talk about, writing, or writing tasks.
and functionality of that. And so looking at the different interfaces. And so for management, we can tell, what's going on. How many words are actually in a paragraph? It's about the paragraph, what it needs to be. How do you count that, with the application? So someone has to actually physically count each word and program it in, or is there different ways to figure out how long a passage is, how much information is in that passage?
So, there's two main parts we focus on for this application, reading and writing. The issue with reading on a non-classroom setting is that you don't know how many words you're about to read, right? So we have one proposed solution to that, which is we'll provide a set of paragraphs or chapters that are more of a standardized way of saying, hey, we know that this has, 1,000 words. Let's see how long it takes you to read that. But we also did build in to the prototype a way to enter in how many words you're about to read. So, So that's for the reading part. On the writing part, it's the same thing where you would have to say, okay, I'm about to start writing this. At the end of it, I've written 1,000 words. This is how long it took me to do that.
And then, the averages of how many words are per page, or like that sort of thing. I think it's mostly to track how long it took you to take, or how long it took you to write 3 pages or 5 pages or that sort of thing.
Yeah, we figured there's also like a set standard of books that middle schools, high schools, and elementary schools use. So we talked about just picking out like those classics, figuring out how many words are in each chapter, and providing that if if a teacher wanted to use it with a student. Thank you.
That's all.
We also have a song. Watch me work. Watch me.
So next thing that we have are the dragons.
If anyone would like to follow along, please go to this URL. We have a website.
If you want to. They just look here.
All right.
Everyone,
So we're going to start out just by introducing ourselves. My name is Emily Valentine. I'm Anna. I'm Darshma Chamlani.
Brian Glassman.
and I'm Kelly Joyce.
And the 5 of us are from Drexel University, and Kelly's currently a student at Temple University. So we were partnered with the Roberts family. Helena is an 8-year-old, and she has cerebral palsy. And we worked with the family yesterday and spoke a little bit about the issues they face in their daily lives, solutions that have worked really well for them so far, Helena as a person and what she's like. We got to speak with her a little bit through her Toby system. And in the beginning, we really just wanted to understand what life was like for her family and for her. And so we started with Jody and her dad,
explaining to us a little bit about her Toby system, which is an eye gaze system where she can control the screen and a mouse on the screen with her eyes, and that's what she uses to communicate all of her thoughts and her emotions. So we wanted to tap into that a little bit, and because that's a big part of her life, we wanted to augment that and figure out a way to make it even better than it has been for her so far.
All right, so to go forward with this, we started looking through all the possibilities brought up through discussion with her family. There was a lot of talk about possibly modifying her chair and a little bit more to allow the system to work in more locations. And the biggest problem that he brought up that we thought would be cool task to tackle, because the industry hasn't really provided a solution to this, would be allowing her to use her Toby system outside or in brighter environments. As it's a completely camera-based system, and as well as relying on basically tracking her pupil location at the time. And that's the only real way she has of communicating herself to the world. Glare is a huge issue. Any glare that hits her screen keeps her from keeping her eyes open, and she's suddenly without a really quick source of communication of what she's used to, and she's completely reliant among those who have been around her for a long time. So to come up with it, we decided to see how we can mitigate glare. And we basically came up with a DIY, low-cost, low-tech, real easy-to-build canopy for her power chair. The reason we came up with this is the current industry-provided solution to this is basically a $600 clip-on sun visor. And we decided, what can we do? So from our various backgrounds, we pulled it all together and found out that we could build this right here, easy prototype model, for under $30, using 4 tools that anyone can get. All you need, some wood, hammer, nails, saw to cut it, and you can make this whole thing. And some rope, of course, to put it all together. Brian, you want to talk a little bit more about how the design actually functions?
Okay. These rods down here will slip into her chair. There's any number of ways you can do that, everything from zip ties up to the higher tech. They've got mounting brackets for these chairs because they're customizable, but apparently not with sunroofs. So these 2 legs mount into the chair, that holds it up. It's just tied on to the wood here, so if they're going for a trip, they can just untie. You can't see my hand on it. You can untie it here and on that side, and then it becomes much smaller. You can just put it in the back of a car, back of a van, go somewhere, go out in the sun, tie it together. It takes 5 minutes.
Would you guys like to demonstrate that for me?
As of right now, it's probably better to keep it like this. Yeah, the current way you have it set up, we can do this vertically, and this can fit such as on the roof of your car. With more advanced construction materials available, we use what we have on hand quickly to put this together. You can make it much more collapsible. An idea that came to me was using the same kind of latch system that crutches use, and you can make holes collapsible along every dimension. You can replace this basically a waterproof sheet that we use, plastic sheet, with a collapsible plastic or some other form of a more blocking waterproof sheet, and make the whole thing collapse and fold up, and you can actually store it in a pouch behind the chair.
So we recognize that this does not appear elegant. We understand that it looks not ready for production, not ready for a show or anything like that. But the main thing we wanted to get across was the functionality and the fact that this is a need that is not being addressed right now. And for many people, it may seem simple, and it seems like, why hasn't anyone done that before? But if there isn't a solution, why not identify that need and address it? We do have future plans. If possible, we'd like to redesign, do some more structural analysis, have better materials. We talked a lot about and sketched up some retractable methods. Ultimately, we'd like to integrate with Toby as well and give Helena the opportunity to adjust the shield for herself, the shed, or the top for herself, so she can identify, where is the sun coming from? How much of a shade do I need? Do I want the sun on my face, or is it important that I can communicate in that moment? And then she can move the shade depending on the need at that point. And these are a list of our specs that we use to drive our design. We talked a lot about needs. We spent many hours on needs and trying to identify which route to take and how best to supplement Helena's current system. And she has a wonderful system and a support staff, and we wanted to be able to supplement that and help them and give her a little bit more independence. That was really, really important to us. So these were our driving specs, just a sample of them. We mostly focused on the weight of the shade so that it would function and not be too heavy, not topple over. We also wanted to talk about glare blocking and light blocking. Another need that Jody brought up was that in the summer, her chair is black leather and it gets very, very hot. So we wanted the shade to be white, and there can be, so it doesn't absorb as much sunlight, and it would block the light on her chair. So further along in our website, if you want to follow along, we did talk a little bit about prototyping, which we addressed before in our design specifications. And then also future work, as I said before. We'd like to expand upon this and really make it something that's accessible for all people, regardless of your budget, and would integrate with current systems so that it would be easier to use and would really help people be able to communicate in their day-to-day life.
Were you able to test it like in the sun and see if it blocked glare? Like how well did that material work or?
We unfortunately weren't able to test it with her chair because
Yes,
obviously she needs a chair.
Yeah.
So
not a chair, just like
When we took this outside, we were able to use our cell phone screens and computer screens as a nice analog. We did find there was a significant reduction in glare under direct sunlight, as well as under bright indoor lights in some cases, such as if you were under fog lamps or something, which can actually provide even worse glare than the sun. It produces a significant cut down.
We iterated over several materials also.
Yes.
Yep.
So it reduced the super bright LED on your cell phone to nothing more than this level. And we definitely tested that a few times.
Yes?
Can the existing workplace be used on the chair now?
We could, unfortunately, as I said, we didn't have the chair. So what we thought would work ended up having some things in the way, and we just didn't have the time or materials to fix that today. So
The time of iteration of this code began at 9:30 this morning.
We spent a lot of time in that ideation mode yesterday.
just keep on that real quickly. Part of the beauty of this is it's very simple. So they can take it home or they can make their own and say, oh, this isn't quite right, let me change this bit here. This is not some fancy thing fabricated in a factory in China. This is something you could build in your garage with one trip to the hardware.
Accessibility is huge.
Exactly.
I love this. I know I used to work Elegant Friday night. Remember, I come from Hackerspace, and we're all about hacks. The very term hacking is a non-elegant solution. And I love that it's so open source and people can DIY. So my question is, what about Lena? What did she think of it?
I would call this hacker elegant, maybe.
Yeah, I was really impressed that it was something that she.
You should look into photography equipment and tents. The way tent poles collapse and photography diffusion things, so you can throw up and go. I know they're circular and that won't work the same way. You might be able to get something.
Our initial idea, we could look at telescoping. We were actually thinking telescoping and PVC pipes. And we were doing this in 2 days. We did look at that, yeah. That is future.
Also to go off the long.
It makes me happy. Sorry.
So often I know, like for the disabilities, so much of it is simple solutions like that. Simple things.
We did look at it, we looked at in the market and you'd think this is something simple and all we found was a $600 hike. It was only half this size.
Yeah, that was disappointing.
Yeah, I wanted to add on to also what Elsa said earlier, and saying that really people can really make amazing things, just by modifying things or even like adding features. That website is really online. So it's a good combination. There was a rifle rack online, if you've heard of it. And someone used a shopping bag holder, use it as a shopping bag holder. The same kind of idea, but some things repurposed for something else. So it's just like a great example of just ingenuity in the moment. And when you live it every day, what the person really does, what he uses. And so the more serious comment question, I guess, would be more okay, what kind of what other alternate materials I guess could be used for this? Are you looking to be more efficient without raising costs? So what kind of materials?
So one of the other materials that we considered but wasn't able to get a hold of during this hackathon was one of those reflective tinfoil emergency blankets that people use. It's very cheap. It's about $2 to produce. And it would be wide enough of an area for us to rapidly prototype onto this canvas. And it would reflect glare, it would reflect sunlight, reduce the amount of heat that's coming down on Helena. And that was one of the ones that we wanted to try, but we weren't able to, if we could get one of those, we would really love to try that out.
Also, to add on to that, in terms of actual construction material, I know right now we're using a wooden frame, but as I said earlier, you can adapt objects such as crutches, or if you have the ability to, the standard aluminum like shelving bars that are available in stores, you can use those. One final thing I really wanted to do for this, but we just ran out of time unfortunately, would be I would coat the frame in something cheap like EVA foam, which is a common enough thing. You can get it at arts and craft stores and stuff. It's really cheap. You can get it like 50 square feet for $10 or less, and you can coat the whole thing and make it safe as well for whoever's in the chair.
It's more suggestion to the question.
Sure.
Have you guys thought like parasols and bikini with the beach? You can make that to umbrella.
Yeah, you mean like how it comes up and it just...
Yeah.
That was part of our consideration.
One of the issues is she's down here, and so for a surface area this large, that's become very complicated because you can't just fold it up. You actually have to accordion it, and manufacturing that's quite difficult, or you risk hitting her in the face when she tries to open her.
And the structure of that support is in the center. So we needed the support of that structure to be behind her.
We didn't want to limit her field of view at all because we noticed when we met her yesterday, she really loves people and loves looking around and observing her environment. So that was something we didn't want to obstruct.
And finally, like, as I said, this is a scalable design. You can start at $30, give you this with like 2 hours and throwing it together. If you have a lot more money, something you could do would be you can throw an Arduino on it, a simple motor controller, a separate motor, and use 2 solar panels to create a differential in terms of light. And you can automate the actual position vertically where it is. And then you can also power it, so it's almost like the power roof of the convertible car.
And that brings us back to eventually we'd like Helena to be able to control and entertain.
One more question.
Have you guys, I don't know, have you guys considered trying to reduce the size or the packing space? Like say if she's inside, she wants to have it removed or open. Is there a way to like just close it up and maybe just have it behind the chair? Have you considered like it's like quite big if she was trying to get through a door and could serve as a tough entrance?
Definitely. Again, with the collapsible, one of our designs that we looked at, but just didn't have the materials for, shrunk down to about 8 inches by 24. So that's, and you could, if you wanted to fold it in another axis, you could shrink it down even more, say 8 by 12, 8 by 6.
That would just take some more time engineering the joints to make sure that all the forces worked out.
Obviously, this one can't, being made of wood, unless you can fold wood.
And we considered tension rods for that specific one. That came up during the brainstorming session.
Thank you.
Can we give them 2 bonus points just because they were wearing our shirts? Yeah. All right. So the last team, fortunately or unfortunately, would be the best yesterday.
I can see it leaking through this way. I know you guys, I know you.
It's actually quite a bit longer than the drive. Yeah.
It's you. You good to go? Yeah, we waiting on something specific. Are we good? All right, guys. Hi, I'm Wally Stafford, and I'm the subject matter expert for Westchester University. And our product is called URIT. That's URIT. And our logo is blue letters on a white background with letters UR on above IT. And I'm going to let my teammates introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm Jordan Varnish. I'm a physical therapist and currently doing my MBA.
I'm Matt Siganolfi, and I'm a student at Westchester University, computer science student.
My name is Mark Sykes. I'm also a computer science student at Westchester University.
My name is Dave Collins as well. I am also a computer science student at Westchester University.
And I'm Versa Hyde, also a student at Westchester University.
All right, so as I said before, I'm a subject matter expert and I am blind. I was born with a condition called retinitis pigmentosa, or RP for short, and it's a progressive eye condition, and what that means is I have been slowly losing my vision throughout my life. So when I was younger, I had more vision, and one of the things I loved doing was riding my bike around the neighborhood and just, learning tricks. I learned how to do a wheelie and to like ride really fast and brake and turn like they do, and kind of looks cool. And I also learned how to ride my bike with no handling horse. So, I love doing it. And as I grew older, I was not able to do that anymore because I didn't have enough vision. So I just kind of forgot about it for a long time. And then I recently tried tandem biking, which was great, but it's sort of more assisted biking, and I didn't have that same control of just doing it myself or independently. And I thought I really wouldn't be able to until very, very recently. Actually, Friday night when I arrived here in Philadelphia, I was staying with a friend of mine, and there was a tricycle, and he was like, "Why don't you try it?" And I hesitated at first. I was like, "You mean all by myself?" Yeah, his response was like, "Yeah, I'll buy your grown-up self." So I did it, and I got on it, and he gave me verbal directions, and we were just in a garage. It was pretty empty and spacious, so it was relatively safe, and I was able to follow the directions, and I was just kind of riding around on my own, and eventually it got to a point where I just told him, "Hey, well, why don't you just kind of go in front of me and just keep talking, and I'll be able to follow you just by the sound of your voice." And I was able to do that. I was able to do that successfully, which kind of got my gears going and about ideas. And so I brought these kind of ideas to the group here, and I thought, well, what if there's some kind of sound emitting device that I can just sort of give to a person and follow them that way. So we came up with a concept for an app and using Bluetooth beacons. So I would give a person a Bluetooth beacon, and then this beacon would connect with my phone, and I could plug in my headphones and use an app which would create a pinging sound on a 3D soundscape. So I would just only hear it from my headphones, and I would hear the sound according to the direction of where that person is, and as well as either a pulsating sound to indicate the distance of how far they are. So in this way, I could find out where they are and follow them. And I think this is sort of addressing a few different problems for me, which I previously thought, well, were kind of just unsolvable. One is being able to follow somebody independently without having to grab onto somebody or getting verbal directions or using a guide dog or anything like that. So that's one thing. And also, in the grander scheme of things, psychologically, this makes me feel more confident in my mobility, my ability to get around. In that it's one less thing I have to worry about. So if I'm at a conference or event or big space, crowded space, lots of obstacles, I usually have to rely on staying close to my friends and or whoever I'm there with and sort of feel tied down to it. With this device, I can just kind of give my friend or companion a Bluetooth beacon and just go mingle in the crowd and socialize. And like I said, it's one less thing I have to worry about. It's one less thing sort of taxing my mental processes. So I'm able to be more in the moment and present here and now. So that's a little bit of sort of the need and the reasoning behind it. And we named it You're It, as in fact, you're it. So pass it on to Jordana. It's gonna.
Thank you. So just to reiterate, we came up with You're It, which is a wearable solution. It works with a beacon and an app. And it basically brings users awareness of where their friends and family are when they so choose to be aware. And it does this through multimodal sensory cues. So we talked a lot about the audio portion of this, but we plan on incorporating a vibration sense and as well a map feature so that if someone is unable to hear sound, they can look at the map and have that a little dot that would translate through the map as they're moving through space to bring them closer to their target. So just to reiterate what Wally said so eloquently, there's a couple different values that this product brings. The first one being a psychological value, just making people feel more independent, confident, being able to socially interact and be more present in the moment, having less to worry about. The functional value is being able to locate a stationary target or to be able to locate a target while you yourself are moving as well. And then in terms of market segmentation, working with Wally this weekend, the main segment is focused on helping people who have a visual impairment. There are 285 million people with visual impairment worldwide. This is a huge market. You know, and then we thought that with these other sensory cues, we would be able to tap into other populations as well. For example, people who might have auditory impairment, mobility dysfunction, you know, parents who want to be able to locate their children if they're in busy, crowded spaces. They can even have the ability to set a perimeter so that if their child leaves this perimeter, it will give some kind of alert. As well as people like myself, people of shorter stature who need to wear heels. In busy, crowded environments, if I lose a friend, I have no idea which way to go. I don't know where they are. So this could just be something that could be scaled to a broader population as well. And I'm going to pass it on to Mark, who's going to walk us through a little bit more of the tech product components.
Okay, so the basic idea of this app, I need to look a little bit. Sorry. So what we were thinking was connect to this device that we make, and the person would wear that in a variety of ways. We can slide next to it. Yeah, so on the left we have some mock-ups that David did of the actual physical device, and there you can see there's a variety of conversions. We've got one like a carabiner style clip that you can put like a keychain through, or one like slides into a belt clip. And so what that does basically is acts like a beacon for your phone to attach to. And we're not sure yet. We discussed you might have to have multiple beacons to do direction and distance, things like that. We haven't been able to figure out because we don't actually have the physical piece yet. But I'm actually very intent on continuing to work with this, so it's definitely something we're looking into. And within the app itself, so when you launch the app, there's the start button, which will just instantly start telling you from where you're located to Bluetooth, the sound will start, or whatever setting you have it on, and guide you towards the person. There's also settings for like how often, like what range is acceptable, like when you close, when you far. There's also at the bottom you have toggle beacon on and off, so it's possible if you go somewhere with multiple people, you could have to say like, I don't want to find this person, I want to find the next person, and toggle between them. So. Oh yeah, and we worked with, wow, oh my God, Wally, why did I just read your name? I'm so sorry. We worked with him because on his phone, for people with visual impairments, there are like cases and special things that will like show you the hotspots on your screen. So we really like tried a lot of buttons with specific spaces on the screen, so it's more accessible.
Yeah, so I have tactile markers on my phone. There's a screen protector with these bumps, right? So we kind of tried to make it according to these bumps, and it's sort of standardized controls in apps anyway. So there's usually tabs on the bottom of the screen. So we use those sort of for the 5 spots with toggle switches for each of the regions. And then in the middle of the screen, usually like where I run with a 5 is the keypad, we put the start and stop button. We're also just we have like Apple guidelines for developers and Android guidelines for developers in terms of accessibility guidelines. So, you know, we can reach our intended audience and have this usable app for people that use assistive technology.
So without further ado, you guys are going to do the tech demo.
Yeah, so we don't have the actual product, but we get like a, so this isn't exactly how it would be, but it would be like a representation. The sound you'll hear is the sound of something somebody would be playing in the user's ear, and how it would work if they got closer or farther to someone. So now I'm just going to pick a random space in the room and let Wally find me.
So our idea is also to like have it be faster as I get closer. Right, and I can tell you right there, and closer. All right, that's your it.
You know, obviously there's always the option of not buying a product, not having an extra technological thing that you need. And so what's currently out there is, you know, holding onto someone's arm, receiving continuous verbal cues in these kind of busy, crowded environments. But again, like Wally said, this is not very satisfactory because it really requires active involvement and reliance on the second person. And there's a strong will that we all have to be independent and to be able to navigate on our own. Similar products that are out there are, there's an app called People Finder Lite, as well as Seeing Eye Accessible GPS app. I'm actually going to pass it on to Wally to explain some of these because he's interactive.
So, Seeing Eye GPS is more of a GPS like outdoor navigation. And People Finder is a similar app in that it allows you to try to find people around you via Bluetooth. It does not use any beacons though, so it more or less tells you, it just uses distance of how close or far this person is away from you. It doesn't give you any directions. It also has not been updated in 2 years. And it crashes, so we haven't even been able to test it out. It crashes every time.
Thank you. All right, so just talking a little bit about our go-to-market strategy. So basically, we plan on providing a free app and then having, the profit that we get from selling the beacons drive further research and development and improving the app over time. We also plan on relying heavily on, strong partnerships with, different organizations that help with providing services and education to the blind and the visually impaired. As well as online communities that help different people with visual impairment to communicate with each other and review apps. And then also just some national federations of the blind, as well as the American Council of the Blind. So just spreading the word through these different resources to let people know and be aware that there is a solution out there on the market.
And we're getting good feedback on them as well. Test our product.
Absolutely. And so without further ado, we open the floor to questions, comments, suggestions.
Yeah, so I'm wondering about these beacons. So, kind of beacons are you using now?
We're not yet. So like when we just did it right now, it's just Bluetooth speaker connected with stuff. We had a sound made up for it. But hopefully we can try and get something out with Arduino or like a Raspberry Pi, something small scale to test first of all, and then scale down from there. But we're not entirely sure yet.
Oh, so that was a simulation?
Yeah.
Okay, and so you haven't built the beacons yet?
No, we're not able to over the.
Okay, but and then so the other question that I had is, would multiple users be able to connect to one beacon? So you can have a group, a person being group.
We talked about that. That's something that we're gonna have to sort of
figure out.
Yeah. Research when we have, when we reach out to the community, because there's maybe some privacy issues there, or
And there's also connectivity issues with Bluetooth.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Too many things on the same frequency, it doesn't necessarily work. So it's something you really have to look into. Because technically, there's nothing stopping the same person from wearing multiple beacons as well. Just like a first level thing. So.
Yeah, well, I'm also a co-founder of Philly Touch Tours, so we do tours to the blind. So. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, in terms of beacons, no matter what you use, whether it's sound or Bluetooth, I don't understand, and maybe you can explain, how would you get the directionality?
Yeah.
Because there's a radius at which you'll see the signal strength at the same level, right? You have to triangulate somehow.
Yeah, that's
so
very
what do you envision, as a way to actually figure out what direction the person with the beacon is?
The initial plan is to make sure the beacons are sold in pairs, such that one could be worn, for example, on each side of the head. And then you can use the two different signals to triangulate.
Okay.
Which is the rough working idea. We haven't been able to test and be able to make them yet, but that's weird.
I would say that if you do Bluetooth there, you might have trouble with the differences in signal strength not being discernible.
Yeah.
Maybe sound.
So my question is that if it's more dependent on an audio input, then let's say you're in a crowded room, how do you expect somebody to kind of get around a crowded room who's somebody that is so audio dependent when you have these headphones in?
So I think Jordana mentioned we're trying to have a multimodal approach. So it's not just sound. We also want to incorporate some verbal feedback as well as use vibrations. So, in terms of vibrations, they would sort of even coincide with the things. So every time it pings, it will vibrate.
And also, in the same way, you might think, how are they going around the busy room with headphones in? Like, Wally operates like this entire weekend, and he's had headphones in, like, talking to us and going back to using his applications and different things. So, sort of, it's just becoming adjusted from daily use. So.
If I may, just to be clear, the simulation did have the sound coming from the target. The final prototypes would have the sound coming from Wally's phone.
Yeah, I listened to it through my phone. It's not
Just to clear up confusion.
simulate like how I can find the person who did that.
And also recommend the vote conduction of the.
I had a question. What brought you to the beacon thing? Because I know with alternative, there's a similar product I've seen in development before as one of the internships I've had, where it's something similar. They use the NFC connection to various phones, where you can just go and use the GPS signal on the phone as a pair. I can just go, I can just go and like tap them together and they're paired. I was just wondering if there's a reason for the beacon over doing something like that.
I would say the first thing we really thought of was there's a privacy concern more so. You didn't necessarily want to pair. I guess it depends on how each phone works, what data is shared. But we thought this would be like you're not putting anything at risk. Like your information is being shared with anyone else. You don't have to link anything. Like it's all like, you own it and you give it to someone. So that was really the rationale there.
It seems like the problem that might come up with that would be something similar to what the other team had solved as well, like the haptic high five team before, with the vibration we're talking about. And so how to include the, just to tie along together with that team is very similar in a way that it solves the problem in a similar manner.
I mean, that's what I thought too. I mean, that's it's like
Right, we
extremely similar, but
But it'd be great to be one big group.
Yeah.
Well, isn't it one is coming close or the other one say?
yeah, the other one is like coming close, and the other one that's more like a warning almost, and the other is more like they're trying to find individual people.
But it could work like it.
Yeah.
We're friends with distance.
Yeah.
I guess my question too is more related to, it's actually maybe more of a comment. It's related to more applicability. So when you're talking about, what you're talking about is wonderful, maybe that line too as well, that line team. Because very often they're dependent on another individual who arrives with them and they're navigating an area or space. So I guess the key would be to have, the vibration as well, like we were talking about. Plus, the sound and whatever feedback. And so that's one of the key aspects you mentioned.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that we thought of. That's why we definitely thought of blind deaf as a target demographic as well. That's why we wanted to incorporate the NFT approach, to different sensory.
I guess my other kind of question or comment is more on going back to the question we asked earlier, cost. I guess how much would it cost to make, let's say the beacon. And then how affordable is that for the general public or the community, at large?
I would say, yeah, the tile I think would be like similar in size and cost. So yeah, right back there, he's holding it up right now. So that's like, it's what we partially drew inspiration from because it, in a way, serves the same function. It just needs to send like where it is. And that works a little bit differently, but more or less, I think it could be that available. And I think the tile is under, it's probably like 30 around there.
25.
25? Yeah, so I mean, you could probably get down to that price range after actually hashing it out, so.
Okay, great. Any more questions? Now let's say the user is in the incorrect years. Okay. So, as a suggestion, I thought it would be helpful to have almost calibration where it would say right in the right year.
Yeah, that would, like when you start,
Yeah.
like it would say.
That's a good idea.
It actually is a good idea, yeah, like press start says left, right, so you're sure you're in the right. You're your sense of the ring, you don't want to go away from your friends.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, great idea.
Are there any other
Yeah.
questions?
I got a question. Would it be possible to just use cell phone towers, like the existing infrastructure? Because there's privacy is an issue with other phones, but cell phone towers.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, that's a little beyond my scope of knowledge, so I'm not sure if I could do that, but potentially, so. Yeah.
Actually, I have a question. Maybe it's beyond scope, so forgive me.
That's fine.
But one of the things that struck me about your idea is how much it leverages the fact, the relationship between two people. And I was wondering if you thought about using social network data.
In what way?
Yeah.
Well, so going to the idea of the phone, like a lot of apps these days ask for your identity, and maybe it anonymizes it in some way, but if you are having a Facebook app on your phone, which a lot of people are, you might be able to get enough information about whether your friends are geolocated with you, and maybe leverage both their compasses or their maps. And I don't know. So I could like spin this out into an elaborate yarn, and that's why I mean it might be beyond scope. But I wanted just to ask if you thought about that kind of approach.
Well, that's what the whole GPS is. They have like a 30-foot radius of where they're accurate, and with following people or getting close to them, that amount of accuracy is not going to be like very reliable.
GPS accuracy is not there yet for a lot of people anyway. Just, in general, when I'm outside and I'm trying to find an address using GPS, it's pretty hit or miss. Sometimes it will tell me like I'm a block away from where I'm actually at.
And if you're talking about like using like the other people who are also using it around you to help, like, is that what you mean?
I mean, yeah, I was just thinking like tapping into all the sensors on their cell phones. So you guys mentioned Bluetooth beacon, which lots of phones have Bluetooth.
There's apps like that already. So there's apps, I showed it to them, and that's how we came up with this idea. But there are apps where I can take a photo and like it describes the photo, but there's also apps where I can connect by video to a sighted volunteer. And that person can, like, I can use my camera and they can read stuff to me or they can tell me stuff about my environment. Is that sort of what you're hinting at?
Mine was just more a question if you had thought about a more social approach and using that kind of information. Because it sounded a lot like you were talking about Bluetooth, but you were also relying on there being paired people who like each other.
Yeah.
And so that's all.
No, I think the best way to answer that question is like, you haven't like looked at that aspect. You're picturing more like you have someone who will be coming with you and you're just like, here's this. Please put this on your belt so I can know where I am and like, where I'm going. And not so much like finding someone to do it for you. If that's that answers. If not, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's already someone who you're going to an event with, and they don't need to have a smartphone. They have a beacon, they can hold it. You're in control of who you give that to. It's not like a random pairing. But it's definitely good to consider other options and how we can make this more, have more functionality in different ways.
And then you can use it as you see fit. You don't have to give it to a person. You might place it in a particular spot that you use as a landmark, or give it to a tour guide or something, if you're going on a tour, or a help desk person. So.
Right, thank you guys.
Great, so that was the last presentation for today. The judges are still working on grade. I was like grading the assignment, but just finding a winner. But while that is being done, if any of you guys want to share your experiences, you're welcome to actually please do that. So it's an open thing. I'm not going to go away.
I wanted to ask a question.
Oh, yeah. Is it technical? I can't.
I just was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about evoLabs and what you guys do and what inspired you to do this.
It's definitely on the list. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
But while we set up everything, if you guys want to share your experience with this hackathon, that'd be awesome. You guys can come up here and talk whatever. Your most amazing horrible experience ever. But while we set it up, and then I'll come back and answer all of your questions.
I'll start. My experience with evoHaX Labs is great, all because of Adler and his hard work. Round of applause. He'll tell you that it's his baby. He's not lying. He takes great care of everyone here. He cares about everyone. All of you cares that you all have a great experience, and he only wants the best from everyone and for everyone. He's a great guy. That's all I have to say.
I'll say from up here, as a layperson coming into this, not being computer savvy, so I'm gonna have to that. It's been amazing to watch from a different angle what people who are involved in technology and engineering and computer practice and computer program are able to do and what we're able to bring together, and it's amazing. It's really nice.
I would like to say that I'm actually like incredibly interested in getting what we developed this weekend, like the final product. And anyone that's willing to like bring me some help, just talk to me. And I had a really great time. This is the first time I've been in campus, and it's really interesting. And I really love everyone's ideas. So it's the
I really like the Indian. And the Chinese too. You got your eye. Thank you.
Yeah. I think one thing that's really great about this event, in comparison to like all the other hackathons I've gone to, which is a ton, like in the double digits, is that you actually do something to help another person. You know, it's not something that's like selfish. You know, it's something where you get to meet somebody. I really like the element of surprise as well, because we had so many ideas, but you know, like from a user experience standpoint, you're like you can't design for everyone, but you can keep everyone in mind. So.
I really enjoyed working with the subject matter experts and like having the random draw at the beginning. We came in with like a whole grand idea, but that was way more fun to have to like actually do like a user interview basically right at the start, figure out what brainstorm for like an hour or two and figure out what to do. So that was a fun thing that I don't think I've seen at other hackathons really.
I think similarly, it was pretty cool because this is the first time in a while, like if you go to school for computer science, engineering, whatever, but if you give these hypothetical problems, this is one of the first times like, in the real world we were given something that was actually, you know, a real way to apply it. And we had to put ourselves in the position of a person who was so much different and the same at the same time. We just consider what their experience versus ours is, how to improve it. It was just really different. And I think we all learned a lot from that.
Also, I feel that this hackathon, the special thing about this is so spontaneous. A lot of times in like, you come in with them quick time, and you really have to do given a problem, and then you have to get to that particular problem, you don't have a choice otherwise. Which really puts you in a position that you really make some element, and I really like that.
And as a nurse with no background in engineering or computer science or anything like that, it was really cool to see, like our group got so inspired by Helena, and it was just to see their passion with computer science and engineering, and then kind of like, I think we kind of fueled off of each other's inspiration for the whole thing. And like, I got so into it, and I'm like, don't really have any, didn't have that much great input, but it was just so cool. Like, I got so excited seeing everyone else using like all their prior knowledge and everything, and something so different from what I'm used to. So.
I really enjoyed like getting to know Kelly, like how like caregiver perspective, because that's not something that we really had an opportunity to learn, but she gave us a lot of great insight on how people interact with their family, how they interact with their like thoughts, and then how caregivers can really support their development.
Kind of goes back to the question from Friday night, what excites you the most about this hackathon, and whatever you mentioned, the intersection between all the subject areas and what you guys just described, the intersection between, engineering and, the human side of it, the nursing side of it, and it's just kind of combines everything together and makes it human, makes this very special. So thank you all so much.
Okay, is that all? All right, so without further ado, the first prize goes to All right, so huh?
Do we have one?
And you have one?
Just one thing. We do need the hardware back, so I know there's a Leap Motion out there, and there's also a Pebble out there. We need the Pebble out there.
That's totally.
Oh, and before you all give everything back, can I still take pictures of your projects before I leave? Because I literally have to blog them tonight in order for them to be on AIDA Approved Wednesday. Did I mention I'm going to make you all famous? Yeah.
That totally kills what I was going to say. Okay. Okay. So as you asked the question, I'm a graduate student at St. Louis University, graduating in December. Very excited. I started evoHaX Labs on January 1st of this year with the mindset of researching web accessibility. And that's all it was for a larger chunk of time, till we realized that there was so much need for this to go out, and then we moved from just web accessibility to accessible technologies. We started off with the idea that we wanted to do more research in web accessibility and making web a more accessible place. That's what you see on the stickers too. But then we realized that it's not just that, it's just a part of what we should be doing. So we broadened our horizon. And now our aim and our goal and our mission is to bridge the gap between people with disabilities and technology. So that's what we have been doing. This is the second hackathon in the series of our hackathons that we organized. The first one was in accessibility, same place. We had 5 teams, 5 subject matter experts, same way, the same format as this one. This one was on accessible technologies. Only that this one was just 100 times better than last one. So yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Not too dramatic. But I do really want to thank all the sponsors for making this happen. I'm just going to go to the list because it's a very large list. Access Computing for giving us the grant to do this. We had a grant from Access Computing, which is an organization out of the University of Washington, which supports education for people with for CS background majors and people who have disabilities. So if you have any sort of disability, whether physical or transparent, and you want to pursue a career in computer science, they support you in many different ways. They support your education, they support conference papers, they give grants to make things like this happen. So really a huge thank you to Access Computing. Pebble for giving us our smartwatches, which I don't want to give up to you guys, but it has to happen. So anyway, so thank you, Pebble, and then we have IBC, which is Independent Rooftops. We're also our prize sponsors. Thank you to them, a huge thank you to them as well. Apart from that, we had interpreters from the HCC. Thank you, Neil, for making that happen. Really appreciate it so much. I think this just made this event really, really inclusive. So thank you. Xavier, then we have the touch tours. We also have technically, they donated us the wine. So if you drank wine, you should thank them. Then we have Prima Impact. We also have Exure. Exure gave us those little booklets that you have in your registration bags. That is if you open your registration bags. Black Dribbles, we were on a podcast on Thursday night. The podcast is online on at blacktribbles.com. They did a lot of media boosts for us. We had Len here. He unfortunately had to leave, but I wish he could do this. Thank you so much for Black Dribbles. If you guys want to listen to the podcast, that's me and a couple of other members of our team. talking about, there you go, Carl, talking about SWAT cats. Do you guys know what SWAT cats is? All right, that's it. I can't. Oh, SWAT cats is one of my favorite cartoons. You should definitely watch it starting again. But that's not what it's about. So we talk about SWAT cats, we talk about evoHaX, we talk about a couple of other things. If you guys want to listen to it, the podcast is available at blacktribbles.com. Tribbles is TRIBBLES. I feel like sometimes I don't. ABC Medical. Issues here from ABC Medical. Thank you, ABC Medical. Neuro, which gave us a lot of drinks. I still haven't finished mine yet, but I'm pretty sure you guys have, and it's great that they did. Monster for giving us free energy drinks. I'm sure you have. So, but we all needed that anyway. So, we thank you, Monster, and then Science Center. Also for sponsoring us and making this happen. Our venue host, a huge thank you to Venue Cess for letting us use this really, really cool space. I don't know if you guys checked it out, but there's a roof on top and there's a mini golf there as well. If you haven't, you just wasted your time here. Thank you, Venue Cess. Also for Venue Cess, I just heard from their CEO, Anthony, who was just here setting up everything for us. All of you guys get 1 month free mobile membership of their new space, which is the Curtis Center at 7th and Walnut. So if you guys would like to avail that, please do send an email to info@benjaminsdesk.com. If it doesn't bounce back, they got it. So yeah, you guys, all of you guys, just if you guys send an email to info, you get 1 free month of mobile membership at their new location, which I haven't checked out. It's supposedly really cool. It's at 7th and Walnut. So thank you to them for that. Yeah, and I know that a lot of stuff has been going around about, people have been coming to me and saying, congratulations, this was awesome. Thank you, I appreciate that, but it's not all me, and so I guess this is the time when I would really want to introduce all of my team, if you could guys can just come up. There were other volunteers as well who are not here at this time, but really, if anyone made this happen, it was all of these guys. So if you guys could give her a big round. We're 15, 5 seconds of games done. Before we get to the prizes and everything, I do want to ask the judges how they thought this event was and what were their experiences. So we'll start with Neil.
I would say my experience was really amazing. Just to see that, you come with your own set of expectations, because as anyone does, and you see people come with their ideas, and they really just blow it out of the water. You all blew it out of the water. You did just an amazing job. It's amazing to see, what people were coming up with and solutions to the problems that brought to the table. And so it was really hard to, to judge between these teams, to put a number of value to that kind of feeling, So it was just amazing. I was amazed with everything I saw. So thank you.
Yeah, and same here. I wasn't here on Friday or Saturday, coming in today kind of cold, not knowing what everybody was working on, and then seeing the results with the presentations and the demos was really incredible. Especially because for me, it's been a really hard week, just launched. I'm really tired. I've been just lost of energy, and I feel like it's really appreciating. And it's really cool to see not just how everybody's using technology for good and help others, but also all the ways all the different people work together and all the multiple use cases out of them to help, the deaf and blind. I saw many applications to some of these, some of the prototypes and demos that I saw in our time. So it's part of it.
Absolutely.
I totally loved everyone's solution. Please never apologize for what your thing looks like. That's like a no-no in hackathons. We all know you only have a short amount of time, so it should look scrappy, okay? If it looks perfect, we know you cheated, so. The other thing is like, after met me by just like reaching out to me and saying, oh yeah, you were nominated for this thing too, if you ever want to get together or something, and it was so cool because I'm really weird like that, and I'll just like invite strangers to coffee, so that was like me meeting him. And I just realized during this whole hackathon here that I don't have many people I know in my circle of friends that have some sort of challenge or issue they face. So, and also thanks to Austin, I met someone else on Friday as well now that I feel like I'm probably going to be reaching out to her and talking more with them. So thank you for starting me on this new journey in my life, and probably I will be doing a project for evoHaX, which I mentioned to you as a possibility, but I feel stronger about it now. I'm partnering myself with someone and just doing my own project. So thank you so much.
Yeah, it's great. It's drugs. It's the first evoHaX. The panel on Friday was fun, and all the projects were awesome. It's all really positive going for it. I'm really excited to be part of it.
Great, awesome, thank you, and thank you for you guys to take your time out and just be part of this event, make this like so great. Wearing those shirts, I love them. And I should definitely. The shirts, the banners, all of our designs were made by Eric Crawford. He's not here, unfortunately, but really thank you, Eric, as well. Also, just a quick thing, this shouldn't end here. So whatever you develop, it should just go on and on and on, and just keep developing what you're doing. And you just literally change lives today. That's on your shirt. Okay, so next we have Dawn from Code for Philly, who's going to come here, tell a little bit about Code for Philly, and then introduce our guest of honor. That's not me, that's someone else. But Dawn.
Thanks, Arthur. So, as I mentioned, definitely keep working on these projects if you want other people to work on them with. There's this crazy meetup that happens once a week where people get together and we want to change the world, and specifically Philly. I think it's called Code for Philly. I'm pretty sure that happens. As Arthur mentioned, I help run Code for Philly, help build out that community, so I'd love to see you all there. I'm just going to quickly talk about what civic hacking is, and a little bit about how we use open data to do that, and then introduce our main guest of honor. So civic hacking, we use the term hacking a couple of times just in today, thinking about how there's this negative connotation of I don't want to get hacked, I don't want information taken from me. So civic hacking really started out that way, but for good, taking information to make improvements for the city. Funny thing is, they were doing it with public data. Data that was actually, public tax dollars were used to get this information. So scraping websites, just getting different data sets in sort of backwards ways. And that group of people kind of ignited this movement of open data where it was done in a real responsible way, where departments were acknowledging that this was important and that it was beneficial not just to the people who they're serving, but also to their departments. So civic hacking, that's really where the open data movement has kind of come in changing those government changes, and that's where civic hacking is at, is using almost 250 data sets, over 200 data sets in Philly. And it's important because open data is really a symbol of how government has changed structurally, but it's more of a metaphor of how governance approaches have changed. Because open data is great, information is awesome, but it takes people to give it meaning, to make it relevant, to make it important. So with all of that said, we're going to hear from someone who works with open data pretty much every day at the government level. Our chief data officer is Tim Wisniewski. He started out as the director of civic technology for the city a few years ago. He now works as CDO, working to build relationships with different departments in the city to get them to release their data responsibly and in a consumable way. And he's also one of our civic hackers who came up in the community and comes to Code for Philly almost every week. So with that, I'll let you guys hear from Tim Wisniewski.
Yes, I'm really difficult to live up to. So I'm happy for the
sorry to disappoint you. As John mentioned, my name is Tim Wisniewski. I'm the Chief Data Officer with the City of Philadelphia. So I work on an awesome team that does open data, websites, and applications. So probably the most relevant stuff here is open data. Don was talking about the fact that we have 240 some data sets available to the public. Just to walk through a little bit about what that's like. We help government departments publish their data to the public. Crime incidents, the city budget, parking violations, property assessments, contracts, a whole bunch of other stuff. A recent one was intersection controls, all kinds of stuff that you probably didn't even know existed, but you come across it and you guys think, wow, that's really interesting. I could do something cool with that. We also build websites and web applications. We're rebuilding the entirety of phila.gov with the idea that increasingly interacting with city government is a digital thing. We borrowed a term from Code for America called the digital front door, because instead of going down on the city hall and interacting with government more and more, we're doing it online. So it's essentially the digital front door of government. And we're building it with user needs at hand and in mind. We're measuring them and talking to users. And we're building applications, because even if we have a really great experience filling out a permit on our website, it takes 6 months to process that permit. There's still a problem, right? So that being said, we have a really awesome team, like inside of city government, and we're working really hard to get the data out there. But ultimately, it's you guys who are connecting the dots and making things that matter to people. So it's really cool coming here. I go to a lot of hackathons in the city, and it's very rare that I see so many subject matter experts and interacting with them, and also interacting with users. Right? That's really cool to see, I gotta say, as someone who's been to hackathons. So that's really inspiring to see. We just want to encourage this kind of stuff as much as we can. That's really the sentiment behind what we're trying to do in city government. We're trying to be cool, we're trying to be hip, and we're trying to interact with the public so that cool things like this happen. We put data out there, we're acknowledging that we don't know everything and we can't build everything. So we try to do our stuff in open source, and we encourage you to submit pull requests and stuff. We have one of the biggest government accounts on GitHub, github.com/city-Philadelphia, and all of our data is at Open Data Philly. In fact, we built a crime mapping application that was so cool and so much better than we could have done that it's now the official crime map of phillypolice.com. So do stuff like that. We'd love to see this sort of thing, and if you have any ideas for data sets or other contributions from the city government that can help foster this sort of thing, please let me know. OpenDataPhilly.org. Thanks, guys. Keep up the great work. Okay, so first up we have the second place prize, which goes to Red Team. It's not actually written over here. These are the prizes, this is the second place team, so just from the red team. Still here. There we go. Thanks. You got it. Yeah, great. Yeah. And the first place winner is Drexel Dragon. Hey, Elena. What's up? This is for you.
Great job.
You should take it.
All right. They'll be back on.
Thank you.
I think you're wondering.
It's a good thing.
It's my idea.
It's okay, at least the word just.
You want to get him?
Yeah. All right, Joe.
Okay.
Sorry. So big.
Thank you.
All right, now. I got it.
Guys, unfortunately, there's events right off the front. I hate to say you guys some more.
Thank you guys.